now. Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm Rodd Duff, your host.
And I'm producer Barbie.
And together,
we bring you our podcast,
Insights and Straight Talk. And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. You know, when most people think about policing, let me address something here. I had two shows going on at the same time. But, you know, when most people think about policing in America, they think about big cities, you know, sirens and headlines, right? A lot of chaos. But the truth is, most of America doesn't live in big cities. It lives in towns like Mangum, Oklahoma, places where people still know each other, you know, where families go back for generations, where Friday night football still means something. And in towns like this, policing isn't distant. It's personal, because the person wearing the badge isn't a stranger. It's someone you grew up with, someone your kids know, you know, someone who made a decision at some point in their life to stand between order and chaos. Not somewhere else, right there. Right here, across the United States today, there are more than 700,000 sworn law enforcement officers. And since records began, more than 23,000 officers have died. Think about that for a second. It's not a number. It's men and women who woke up, put on the badge, and they didn't come home. And while our military protects this nation abroad, it's our local police officers who protect our communities here at home. Sorry, guys, I apologize for this. I didn't think this one was going to break me up this hard. But they're who protect us here at home. And that matters. And that's where we begin tonight, because today we're launching a brand new series here on Insights and Straight Talk with Rodd Duff and producer Barbie, a series called 13 People of Mangum Who Bring Their Voices at the Table. This series is about the people who shape a community, not from a distance, but from within it. The ones who carry responsibility, you know, the ones who show up, the ones who serve. And if you're going to start a series like that, you start with a protector. Our first voice is Chief Lance Taylor, a Mangum High School graduate, a man who served 20 years in the United States Army. Thank you for your service and continuing service. Rising to Sergeant First Class, a man who deployed overseas to defend this country. And when that chapter ended, I knew this was going to be hard, but not this hard. Sorry, Chief. He came home, because for some people, service it doesn't stop. It just changes form. After the Army, he stepped into law enforcement, serving more than a decade in Elk City before returning to the town that raised him. Today, he stands as chief of police right here in Mangum. And in a town like this, that's not just a title. That's a responsibility. Because you're not protecting strangers. You're protecting neighbors, your friends, your hometown. So tonight, we begin something important, a conversation about service. about leadership, and about the people who quietly hold a community together. This is Chief Lance Taylor, and I'm sorry, and this is the first voice in the 13 people of Mangum who bring their voices at the table. Chief, I am sorry for barely holding that together at the beginning, talking there. I knew it was going to be a bit of a challenge, but anyway, I'm glad you're still here instead of running out on me. Glad to have you here, Chief. How you doing?
That was quite the monologue. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your, wow, holy cow. We already have 165 people on
Well, that's good.
for seeing this. And we also have about 5 questions. Wow. Okay. So let's before you guys take over, hold on here. That was really fast. I wanted to talk to you about your journey. You know, what was the inflection point that brought you to a point where service has become literally your entire, well, not your entire life. You're a father and a grandfather too, and a husband, obviously. But what was that inflection point? Give us the early story.
Well, the early story, we're going to have to go way back to Colombia, South America.
Oh, wow. Okay.
My parents were missionaries for the Foreign Mission Board, and I was born down there. And I lived most of my youthful life there. Off and on, we would come back to the U.S. And I learned that dedication of duty from my parents as they would go out,
Absolutely,
meet people. So that's pretty much where everything started off from there. We came back to the U.S. I graduated high school in 1988, and realized that I needed to do something else. So I received that phone call, as you do, from recruiters from time to time, and he was like, "Hey, you thinking about the Army?" And I was like, "I haven't, but let's talk about it." And in 1988, he told me I could make a whopping $650 a month, and I thought that was big money.
yeah.
And
That at that time was big money. I mean, for a kid coming out, right?
yeah, yes. I did try a semester in college first, but I wasn't ready mentally for that phase of my life.
Yeah. Yes. I've raised 5 boys, and a lot of testosterone in the houses growing up. But my youngest, he spent his whole life building a baseball legacy, and then went to Tennessee and spent a semester and said, you know what? Actually, his mom gave him a call and said, look, son, you're kind of just not really taking this serious. It doesn't seem like I'm going to, and she gave him a threat. I'm going to come down there. I'm going to take you to some recruiters. And he's like, I'm good on Wednesday. How you looking on Wednesday? And he was like, same thing. Absolutely same thing. And he's at Leavenworth now for the Army as a MP, military police. So he's one of the guys. Yeah, it's very cool. I'm excited for him. But anyway, go on. I saw a chance to self-plug there.
Well, yeah. Well, you said Fort Leavenworth, and I was like, yes, I did some battle staff training at Fort Leavenworth. I can't even speak.
Oh, you did?
Yes. Just you do some training there from time to time, and it's all computer-based simulations, things like that.
That's very. I didn't know how complex that was. I know it's a big area, but it's beautiful. But and it's not that far away, actually.
No.
Technically speaking.
No, it's not.
Hey,
it's not too far away.
Chief, would you do me a favor and read out loud what Ariel says here, please?
Huge respect for his 20 years in the military. Thank
you, Ariel.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, this country goes through some weird times and, different times. By the way, there's almost 400 people on here.
Wow.
Thank you all. Please subscribe and
Well,
the questions are coming in and so forth. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say that, from there, the Army journey began. Uh, Obviously, in boot camp, they want to build you and structure you so that you're turned into a more mature adult. And
Yes.
at the age of 18, you're getting that childish stuff kind of worked out of you a little bit. From there, I got stationed in Germany. In Germany, I was stationed with Bravo Battery, 1st of the 7th Air Defense, in K Town, and there's where I learned my fundamentals. The non-commissioned officers at that time, we were still in the Cold War, and so their thought process was, we have to be the best we have to be because we have to face the Soviet bloc threat,
Oh, that
and
was a big deal.
that was a big deal back then. So they would train you, and I'm going to use a phrase here several times during this: is be no do, be technically and tactically proficient, know who you are, and do what is best. Uh, Also, they instill that in you, and they also instill the providing purpose and direction and motivation to those around you, and that's where the leadership aspect was instilled
Ah,
into me by now retired Command Sergeant Major Rodd Beach. Uh, he uh, he was very big on building leaders, and he looked at me and
mm.
he's like, "Hey, for some reason, we're going to make you one." And so that's where that honing started. And PCS from there to White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico. Basically, there we learned the importance of being able to take care of what it is that you're supposed to do on your own with minimal supervision. Uh, you were always TDY working on projects and stuff like that. So
TDY. You
temporary
said that a couple of times.
TDY is
But
temporary duty. You're stationed at White Sands, but you're temporarily assigned somewhere else.
for that training meaning?
Yes.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Wow. That's now you mentioned missile. What does that look like? What does your training look like? What part of the battery were you training on? What was your mission there?
So we were the launcher personnel, Patriot missile crew members, and we were
Patriot missile. That's what I thought.
yes,
Go ahead.
and we I was a 14 Tango, which is they call them launcher dogs, and
Is that
basically
the equipment or you as
that's
a
the
launcher dog?
equipment.
Okay,
Well, that's
launcher.
us. We're the launcher dogs because we operate the launcher equipment. So
Gotcha. Okay.
we
I
set
like
up the
that.
launchers and make sure that they're talking to the engagement control station. And then the people inside the van have to fight all the air battles and everything. And then we have to keep the launchers in perfect shape for the people in the van. And at the same time, we provide the physical security for the site.
Am I,
So
what is it? What I'm envisioning where there's stuff going on right now. Okay, right. So
mhm,
we see a lot of different stuff, and you see those missiles from something that's sitting on the ground.
yes.
Is that what I'm
Yes.
envisioning when you said, because you said the van and right?
There's people in the van that's called an engagement control station. They're the ones that see everything through the scope, their radar. And then,
Dang,
we're not going to
dang.
talk details about this because
No,
I'm
no,
in
no, 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 no,
trouble.
no, no, no.
But uh, you have to work as a team. And when you train for that, you train as an entire firing battery, and there's 120 of you, and everybody
Dang.
has a specific
Wait,
job.
wait, wait. 120 at a battery?
Between 100 and 120 soldiers in the United States Patriot Battery. Used to be at one point in time. That might
Oh,
change right now.
across the band, not on a single van.
No, not in one van, but in the unit. The unit will have that many people there, and
Wow.
because you have to have enough people to do shifts. You
Yeah.
know, staring at a scope gets taxing. And then it is, for example, air traffic controllers. They have to be replaced every few hours. Well, it's very similar.
All right. So I like this one right here, and I think it's pretty well placed. I don't want to get too much into the questions, but I want to make sure and kind of develop the whole thing. So this kind of leads into the second part of the introduction story, let's call it. So one thing about the Army. Well, before you go to Rochelle, because I wanted to bring this up earlier. Whatever, the Army and the Marines, military services are connected to an unfortunate part of being part of the human species, the human civilization in that protection. But as far as you talked about learning leadership, learning cooperation with others, these skill sets that, let's call them soft skills, right? That are probably more important than any other skill that you have, because whatever skills you have in those areas, right, are the foundation of whatever you do for a living, or however you live your life, including your other skills. I'm a salesman. That's a skill set, right? You have leadership and serving skill sets. So I want no matter what the thought process is towards any military or whatever, our military, and aside from the fighting aspect that we're seeing some amazing things, but as an organization, I go back to when we went over and the military learned Kaizen from Japan. You know that process that when we did that as a I don't know what you want to call the military when we did that, it seems that our military really took not only in our weapons technologies and all that, let's put all that aside, but from just who they are and how they're structured, meaning that more leaders look for leaders, I think, in military than any other organization in the world, and probably the best organization ever run ever in any situation ever in history. Would you agree with that, or is that just being overly, whatever?
Well, yes, I mean, every organization has its issues, but if you don't teach the future how to become the next generation leader, then you won't have
Yes.
one when you're gone. And so I went through various schools, basic non-commissioned officer school, uh, uh, advanced non-commissioned officer school. I went to primary leadership development was first. So as a
I like
E4
that.
specialist, you had to go to primary leadership development because you didn't have the clue about the what it took to start running things. You didn't know what it was like to be a manager. So that's what they're starting to teach you. They teach you this backwards planning process. Hey, we got to get to this point.
Oh,
But to get to this point, this is my finish line. Now I'm going to start planning backwards. And what do I need to be successful here? And then we plan backwards from there. And that's how you really successfully plan. But they teach you, and then they coach you, and then they mentor you. I told you we're covering that a lot because that's how they know that you have to be able to grow the next generation of leaders. And if we don't start growing the next generation of leaders here right now in Mangum, who's going to do it? So that's where we're at. And like I said, when I swore in, I sit there and said, I am not the future of this police department, but we will build it. So
speaking of which, a couple things that brings up. Well, actually, by the way, there's almost 600 people on here now. We just had a
good.
big rush coming in the last 15, 20 minutes. I've got a live counter here. So that's pretty powerful for what we're talking about here. I still want to get to this changeover, but staying with the Army here and going back and forth and some of the and what built you as a person, and so many others, because the Army does this. Well, the military, right? I mean, you can say we're talking about the Army. We have a lean towards the Army because of personal. My dad was a Marine, so I've got a lot of interest in seeing how those developments occur. I mean, you just see young men and young women and catching them at that age. And if we could only do more of that throughout society, and I know we do it because it's such a dangerous mission day in and day out. So you have to, I mean, you got to stand between I said in my opening, the chaos and the calm, right? That's what police do. That's what military does. And that's why you teach that so much, because you're constantly standing between the chaos and the calm. And that means that as a leader, you're under that, business has its stresses, but there's more stress at when you're standing between the chaos and the calm. And it's impressive for us that we live in this country and are protected by the results of how people are brought through the system of military, and police are the same way, right? I mean, you have those same continuing. For instance, you just finished a program, right? With one of the next incoming. I don't know how far you can get into that, but can you?
I just spent.
Whoa! There's over 800 people on here right now. I don't know what the heck just happened, but I just looked up. There's over 800 people on here right now.
So
yeah, that's awesome. Go ahead, please.
Let's talk about let's skip a little bit. One thing for the in the military, and then we'll skip to the other one. Not everybody sees the big picture of what's going on. Let's say if I'm doing my job as a Patriot missile crew member, not everybody sees the big picture. That's the commander's job. Commander's job is to see the big picture. As a Patriot missile crew member, as a platoon sergeant, having 8 launchers and 32 soldiers under me, then my big picture was my launchers have to be up. Everything has to be operational. If one goes down, I have to fix it, or I have to figure out what needs to be done to fix it. Okay. And then, do we have the resources? We need fuel. We need food. We need ammunition. How many rounds did we fire? We have to do reload now. And all that stuff is planned at higher, but you still have to keep track of that. And the average person doesn't see that. They just see, hey, you're just doing this. Well, that carries over. That carries over into everything else. And I love watching TV shows where, hey, something's solved in 1 hour, and it was a really good episode, and it was a really good show. But in reality, that would take weeks. It would take weeks with everything that has to be done. And people don't, they don't realize what all is going on behind the scenes that they don't see. And when I first started here,
what a great point.
When I first started here, the public was very happy that, hey, we see you. Thank you. And I was like, okay, thank you. Be patient with us. We're working on it. Okay. And some things can be easily remedied and easily fixed, but others, not so much. It's just one of those things.
I love the way you put that out there that way, because it's very, very true. And you used a sitcom or a TV program, how it all got fixed in an hour. Now there's even that next level that we're all starting to, and I'm older than you, but we're all starting to have this thing come at us between social media, which I'm a contributor, but as well as AI and all that's happening, and everything is getting faster and faster. And the point you made there, by the way, there's almost 1,000 people on now.
Cool.
The what I liked about what you said is how people don't see the big picture. In your scenario, the commander was the big picture, and then your big picture was all the meals and all the ordering and all the supplies and making sure it all works and that everybody does their job. And then the guy that's putting in how many, 8 launchers, you said 132 people, but those people have their big picture. And then and unfortunately, too much of what happens today, and in the example you gave about Mangum itself, is they're looking at, well, this isn't happening, but there is a big picture. And that's why these kind of conversations are so important, because folks like you and other people in this town, they're actually working on the social media allowances that the council's allowed to interact with social media now. And to me, that's kind of exciting, because we can have those, we can maybe not have people interact with the big picture at a point, but to be at least be able to witness or see it or know what other people are dealing with while this isn't happening. Is that right?
Mhm.
Did I say that right back to you?
That makes sense. Yes. And we're successful as we're allowed to be. What do I mean? How
Yes.
much
What do you
support,
mean?
how much support do we receive from the citizens? If the
Mm.
citizens really support you, then you're
Give
going to
some
be,
examples.
uh, I've been very
Hate to,
blessed. I've been very blessed since we've started here. Okay. I they tell us, well, we don't we have to have so many officers. Okay, well, I would like to grow that force. I want to eventually have 6 officers. Well, we have grown from 4 to 5, and hopefully soon we'll be able to go to 6. And you can't just, hey, I got a brand new officer. He doesn't know anything, but I'm going to make him a police officer.
mm-mm,
That doesn't happen. That's how
no,
small communities get in trouble. They're like, here, and we're just going to go ahead and give them a badge and a gun. And then that person ends up not understanding the Fourth Amendment and violating somebody's rights. And there's a lot to understand and a lot to take in and to do and to know. And you have to keep up with case law. Case law changes yearly. The Supreme Court,
officers do that.
yes, we have to.
Office,
Police officers have to do that.
no kidding. Well, I mean, it makes sense. I get it makes sense,
But
but
that's why you can't have
here's
a
that
brand
big
new
picture.
police officer. You can't have a brand new police officer. Hey, I've been a cop for a week. Now it's time for me to go to go on. No, you don't even know. You don't know how to interact with people. You don't know how to approach a vehicle. A lot of this, honestly, this is community service. We're here for our community. Okay.
True, very true.
Period.
Yep.
End of statement. Nothing else matters. So, hey, how do you approach somebody on a traffic stop? Are you grumpy? Or do you try to have a smile? Sometimes when we're grumpy, guess what? I know about it the next day
Oh,
because hey, I'm not always having a good day. That happens to people. It happens to everybody, no matter what job you're in. You have good days and you have bad days. And those
100%.
things they just they carry on. But what made Mangum special is when I first started here, I needed to bring in people with experience, and our assistant chief, Major Olson.
That's the
Um,
guy you were talking to me about earlier, right?
correct, correct.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about him a little bit further down the show a little bit, just to bring that in. That's important.
Yes,
Go ahead.
but
Go ahead.
he's like, how's it going? And I was like, I'm busy. I'm working a lot of hours, and we're going from there. And he's like, hey, I want to do a ride along with you, and maybe I can reserve for you and help you out a little bit. And we're driving around through town, and he's looking around, and I said, what do you see? And he says, we can make a difference. I said,
Ooh,
what we do here makes a difference. When Major Olson sits down and he goes out with somebody and they're having a bad day, he'll sit down and he'll talk to them. Like, hey, how are you? What's causing this? you know, who, what, when, where, how, and tries to reach in and be a legitimate person with these people. Now, not always do we have the ability or the time to do that, but that's what we want. That's what we ultimately want to do, and that's part of being a law enforcement officer. Is called community policing. So reaching out into the
I've
community
heard that.
and taking care of those things. And you know, when you get a report, take the freaking report. You know, sometimes though, it doesn't meet criteria. And I get that. Sometimes something will happen and it's like, I'm sorry, this isn't criminal. This is civil. There's not a whole lot I can do about that. Civil law is a completely different monster. So, but we try
Yeah,
to
you
keep
guys don't get in. You really, unless there's like a witness or something like an offset of that, you don't even get it. I mean, I know people want that to happen, but you don't get into civil at all. That's like you said, something totally different.
that's civil. Yeah,
That's
we
lawyers.
yes, exactly.
Right. Yeah. Makes
There's
sense.
lots of attorneys that get paid big money to do that.
And that's why they wish the police were involved, because the taxes basically pay for that, right? So here's an interesting one. I've left Rochelle up here. I love her last name, my favorite author in the world. But powerful story. What inspired you, Chief, to continue serving after the Army? We've talked a little bit about Mangum here, and
Mhm.
what your experience is, and I know we talked in the opening monologue. You had a path that led you back to here, continuing that service. That's not always the case for people who serve the country.
It's not.
So what was that? How did that come about?
Um,
Continuing to serve.
well, let's one step back into the military. When you're working, you have a training calendar, and every moment of every day is set up by that training calendar for 12
Wow.
weeks out. And at the
Wow.
4 weeks into it, you make another 12-week training calendar, long-term planning. So it was all, you know what you're doing on any given day, on any given month by looking at your training
Love
calendar.
that.
So
Now everybody goes through that,
everybody has
or at
everybody.
certain levels.
Well, the levels, the leaderships are the ones that do it, but a basic private can. What are we doing today? And he'll go to the training calendar that's hanging up on the board, and he's like, okay, I know exactly what we're doing today.
Gotcha.
So let's fast forward. Uh, I retired, uh, and so
Right.
you go from knowing what you're doing every moment of every day to
Oh,
my
what am I
ears
going to
were
do?
ringing really loud. I never knew they ring that loud before. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and then
Yeah.
and the biggest mistake people make is they retire and then they just shut down. And once you shut down, it's over. You know, the health
Yeah.
start issues start happening, and it goes from there. Uh, I spent a lot of time with my son, you know, doing silly things, playing video games on Xbox. I realized I wasn't a professional video game player, so I was going to have to
Been
do
there.
another job. But this brings me back full circle to when you're in the army, you train, you train, you train, you train, you train, and then you do combat operations eventually. So in 20 years, I was deployed 4 times. In law enforcement, you serve, you serve, you go to school for 18 weeks, your training is pretty much over. And then you're in the live world. And so as I explained it to one of my friends who became a police officer after the army, I sit there and said, a police officer, a soldier is someone who always trains and occasionally goes to combat. A police officer is someone who trained enough to get decent at what you're doing, but you're always, I call it a peacetime soldier who is always at war. A police officer is a peacetime soldier who is always at war because you never know what's going to happen.
It could
You
just like bam.
any moment, okay, bam, there was an accident. Maybe no injuries, but you got to remember that's the worst 20 minutes of that person's life. And so
Yeah.
you have to be ready to deal with the worst 20 minutes of that person's life. Or, hey, there's a domestic abuse situation and you have to go to it. And you got to realize that those are inherently dangerous, not because they don't want your help, but because, let's say hypothetically, uh, husband's going to go to jail because he worked his wife over, but now wife jumps on your back because you're taking the husband to jail because she doesn't have money because he's going to lose his job when he goes to jail and she's not going to be able to feed her kids. And then it it can escalate like that. So you never know what it's going to turn into. And you can have days that are just mind-numbingly boring, and then you have days that are you're just go, 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 go from the second you start to the second it ends.
Yeah, and that can overlap in timing too. Like you even said, there could be a situation you're going to have to back up one of your officers out on the street potentially.
Potentially.
You don't know. I mean, literally, you could be getting a call here in a minute. It's like, Rod, your folks are great and having a great time, but I got to go help somebody out.
Let's
And
hope
that
not, but
happens
yes.
like that. Yeah. I hope I didn't just open Pandora's box or whatever
Well, if
that
you
saying
jinx us,
is.
we're going to blame you.
Jinx. Yeah, I get the blame on that one. That's fair. Hey, let's this is kind of what you were just talking about a little bit. Actually, you've talked about it quite a bit. But do you want to just kind of add a little color between the layers here and what we've been talking about? How did your military experience shape your leadership as police chief? And we've heard how that resulted. You are what you just said is a result of all that education and training that you've had, right? Through the military into well, your parents too, actually. That goes even back further than that.
Yes,
Service
but
has been your whole life.
the biggest thing is you know uh, in the military you do things that are scary from time to time, and it's not that you're not scared. It's that you're courageous. A courageous person isn't a person that's not
Absolutely.
scared. A courageous person is a person who knows how to control their fear and still go do what has to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I've brought this up many a time. You have to do what's right no matter what. And sometimes it's really taxing. It's really hard. It hurts feelings. Sometimes you know the people, and it's like, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You know, and then you remind them that, hey, lady justice is blind. Can you still be compassionate? Yes, but if it applies to the peasants, then it applies to the royalty, and there should only be a one-tier legal system. That's always been my pet peeve. And anyways, it just it is what it is. But
Yeah, there is definitely the great middle class. Unfortunately, the height of the middle class was in the 60s. About 66% of the population was in the middle class. And that there's a range of that. I think somewhere right now it's about 42%, and they're not leaking into the elite, the one percenters, right? There's the one percenters. So that's happening a lot. And what you just said is not only direct is a bad thing, but it's also an indirect thing. We talk about the elite having, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but they have a lot more access to things. That's why shows like this and having these conversations gives access to people that don't normally have the access that others do, maybe in legal advice and this and that. But what you just said, the kings, the royalty has a lot more access, and thus, lives in a different world.
Here's what the normal person needs to remember. We live in America. People say that our legal system is flawed. Got it. But you're still entitled to counsel before you speak to someone.
True.
And I tell people all the time, show up to court. Well, this didn't go exactly how I thought it should have. Okay, I respect that. It's your right. Show up to court, get an attorney, get counsel, be represented, and it goes from there. What people have to realize is 99.99999% of the time, none of this is personal. None of this is personal.
Good point. Good point.
And we might be booking someone in, but we're not mad at them. Could we be disappointed? Yes. Am I upset? Yes. Actions have consequences. I get it. Did you just try to hurt me? I'll be a little irritated. But ultimately, am I mad at them? No. It just is what it is. So
that's an excellent point. I'll tell you what. I mean, there's a lot of we haven't even really got to any of the questions yet, and there's a lot here. I'm going to want you to read that comment in a second. But what's fascinating about having this discussion with you here today, first of all, it's kind of a rare opportunity to look at why decisions and how attitudes are approached by a professional in the law enforcement field. So in other words, we're looking at a different lens, right, in having this conversation, because I, as a citizen, just a normal citizen, that interaction is never really thought about from this view. And this is a really important remembrance, again, back to that bigger picture, for us to have a little bit of insight to that. Would you read Step into the Valley? That's it, right? Oh, it must be a realtor. I bet you she's a realtor.
This really shows what it says is this really shows the heart behind small town policing, and it does.
It go ahead. I'm sorry.
It does, and that brings me back to Major Olson. He moved here. He uprooted his family. He brought him here. I mean, it wasn't that far. It was from El City, but nonetheless, he brought him here. He wants to be in this community. He wants to make a change in this community. He substitute teaches.
Oh, for the for which level? High school?
For whatever the ones of the schools here in the city of Mangum that need him. Okay.
Wow.
He
does a lot of programs here in town, doesn't he? You told me about a number of. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He started the Strong program, and the Strong program is basically something that he was helping with in the city of Elk City, and it's teaching youth discipline through martial arts and training and stuff like that. And then we did basically a food raise, a fundraiser for food.
Hold on. Let's stay right there for a second. Let's stay with Strong for a second.
That's what we're working on.
Is the food part of the Strong?
It's part of it.
Oh, go ahead. Go. Okay. Because
and so,
right,
after the city of Mangum, I mean, they literally they drained the shelves of the United Supermarket and brought in so much food. And what they're doing then is part of that is teaching those kids the responsibilities and how to help somebody that's in need, because those kids, while they were on breaks, would come in and put together backpacks of food. And then in the summer times, when the school lunches may not be quite as available, if you were hungry and you wanted a backpack with some food, you just showed up and it's like, hey, can I get a backpack? And they were being held. Some of them were being held here. Some of them were being held at the EMS barn, and those have all been given away. It's right there. The Greer County Emergency Management. It's right there on the main square.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that.
It's on the north side of the main square.
So is it the brick building there?
It's one of them, yes.
On Oklahoma?
No, it's on it's on the north side of the square. You know where that one building just got demolished?
Yes.
Right next to it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
They were connected.
And what did they do again? What does this do? what you were
The
just talking
Project
about?
Strong kids, they ended up putting together backpacks with food and stuff. And basically, what it's doing is it's teaching them responsibility and teaching them community service, that you don't just do stuff for yourself. So yeah, they were there for themselves, but in the long
Yeah.
run, uh, you know, how to take care of people. Some of those backpacks had things in them for pets and stuff, had some pet food, had a chew toy in it,
Oh,
things like that, that they had to make. And so it's just, that's just part of it. And I highly recommend you talk to him, and he can
yeah.
give you way more details on all of this.
Well, you and I talked while we're in the green room, and this conversation came up, and I just wanted to sprinkle it in here. I know it's kind of, nobody in the audience had any concept of that. So yeah, it's definitely something I definitely want to build up on, because as you know, this is the 13 voices of Mangum right at the table, which is connected to a revitalization program called Mangum 2030. And that's a whole nother subject, and everybody on the show already knows about it, so I'm not going to dig in too deep about it. But there's 5 pillars to the basic concept, and underneath each pillar is the foundation, which is education. One of those pillars is health and fitness, and it's creating some small wins. And there's a whole thing I need to go into about that, whatever that means. So connecting with Major
Olson.
Colson.
Mhm.
Colson, connecting with him is really a big deal to me. And the program that we're working, which you're now part of in the
We'll definitely
13
be able to make
voices.
that happen.
That is very exciting. No disrespect, but that's almost as exciting as our conversation is right here today.
Well, as I said, when I swore in, I'm not the future of this department, but we will build it.
True.
Okay.
True.
And this man does go above and beyond. And he does
Is
care.
he from Mangum originally?
No, he is
Or no?
not. No, he's a California
Wow,
kid.
I love that. Whoa, what part?
I don't know off the
Okay,
top
he
of
and
my
I've
head,
got a lot to talk about. I'm from California.
but
I mean, most recently from Chicago, but
yeah,
originally California.
but he's a California kid. He joined the Air Force. He met his wife here in Oklahoma City.
Oh,
And you know, he's bounced around, and then he decided that, hey, he needed a higher calling, and took a huge pay cut to become law enforcement. And it's funny because right after I retired, I did a security gig at the Air Force Base for a little bit, and it was mind numbing. It's not that it wasn't a good deal. It's just you can only stand there so long without losing your mind. And
yeah, you have one mission, and basically 99.9% of the time, that mission isn't gonna ever
yep,
be needed to be enacted upon, and you're just staring at one
yes.
direction to make sure it's not coming from there.
So I
Mind numbing.
basically took a really big pay cut and went to Elk City Police Department,
Oh
and
wow.
and it, you're fulfilled when you're able to go out and you're able to help, and you go to a call and you see a problem, and it's like, hey, let's sit down and let's talk about this for a little bit, and let's figure this out. And if you can talk, and let's say at this call, you know that somebody's going to end up going to jail. You know it. You already know it. Nothing you can do about
Yeah.
it. But if you can talk them into handcuffs, I call it selling the arrest. If you can sell the arrest, or you can sell the citation, I tell them the truth. How's it going to look in court when I write in my report that I had to fight you, I had to pepper spray you, I had to tase you? Or we talked about it. You knew you were going to go to jail. You didn't want to, but it's going to look better for me in the long run if I do. So let's go. And ultimately, everybody's better for it. You know, people less chances of getting somebody hurt. But there, you also have to know that spot, that place where that doesn't work anymore. And once you realize you've reached that point that that doesn't work, you have to be able to flip the switch and professionally go hands-on and affect the arrest.
Yeah, and that moment in time is critical for the outcome.
Yes.
You know, that moment in time, how the next several steps, let's call it, or moments, meaning how you handle it, that officer handles that moment in time, which isn't probably going to be good, it really makes a big difference. You know, what we're talking about now is I think a perfect setup for Lori here, or what we have been talking about. We've kind of a little moved on a little bit, I think. But what do you build trust? How do you build trust in a close-knit community? And I think your examples, every example is leading towards this question that, you know, basically is answering this question. But why don't we wrap it in a nice bundle for her here?
Well,
and, you know, how do you look at it?
I had a cheat code. It's like you're playing a video game. You have a cheat code.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
cheat code was my parents were missionaries in South America,
Right.
and they would come back, and the community trusted my parents. The community knew my parents, and so therefore,
Right here in Mangum,
right
right?
here in Mangum, and
Yep.
therefore, once everything went through, and I started to do this, everybody's like, you know, they'll tell me, I knew you when you were a little kid, and I knew your parents, and you know, I believe that they may have raised you okay, and we're gonna trust what you're doing in your decision making process. And so to me, that was a cheat code. But for the people, the rest of my officers who are not from here, they have to be able to get out in the community and talk to them. And we don't, you know, they don't have to be buddy buddy, but they definitely have to be able to go out and connect with people, and establish that trust. And even with some of the people that are habitual offenders, and they know that they're going to go to jail over and over and over, but they still trust that you're not going to do something to them that's not legal.
Right.
Okay, they still trust it. Okay, I gotta go, but you're not going to mess me over. It's for what I'm doing, and that's important. Once again, and you have to build that, and that's only done by outreach into the community, being available for people. Am I available 24/7? Not always. I try to be, but not always, because sometimes also the big thing about policing is when you're off, you have to learn how to decompress because mental health is important.
Yeah.
And if
It
you
is.
don't decompress, then you don't heal. Um, Let me bring up why mental health is important. I squirreled. I'm sorry. Completely different subject, but mental health is
Our-
important.
Great subject. It's a very big deal.
Is
We talk a lot about mental health on this show. Go ahead.
the average American has 3 to 5 significant emotional events in their lifetime.
Oh, this is
Okay.
big. Go ahead. Go
So
ahead. I see where
the
you're going.
average first responder, it's not just law enforcement, it's EMS, it's firefighters,
Mm-hmm.
911. They
Oh,
have
good
an
point.
average of, I think it was 700 to 900 significant emotional events in their lifetime.
Oh,
So if
wow.
they can't unplug, you know, on their time off and unwind, then it eventually ends up overloading. It eventually ends up
Yeah.
to officers having bad mood swings. Okay. Well, why is he yelling at me? Well, he might have just left a place where there was a dead child or a dead infant, or
Yeah.
and now he's dealing, and they're like, well, he was snappy with me. Well, I'm sorry, you lost your wallet. He snapped at you. I'm sorry. But there's contributing factors. And And so therefore you have to be able to unplug. But at the same time, you have to be able to be here for the community. And the community has to learn to trust. Well, I'm just going to call the major, or I'm just going to call the chief, or I'm just going to call the commissioners. Look, the system is built on purpose this way. If there's an emergency, call 911. Because if you call me, or you call the major, or you call the city manager, how many other phone calls have to be made? Wait a minute, I'm going to have you call and talk to my officer because they're there. I'm not. I can be there in an hour, but I'm not there right now. So they have to learn how to trust the process. So, hey, there's a problem. I'm going to call. They call. They have to trust that the person going there is going to do the right thing.
You know, you just brought up. I told you these folks are really smart because they're asking questions. Oh, producer Barbie's on here. But anyway, what you're just saying. Okay, first of all, can you read that comment, please, from Kelly out loud, please?
This is such a powerful live discussion. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah, we certainly do. Now, what you just said, because I couldn't imagine this happening in Chicago, unless it was one of the royalty people you were talking about earlier, maybe. But when you were talking, this came up. Todd Camfield. What's the biggest challenge he faces, meaning you, Chief, as a small town chief? And that's what you just said there. People going around the system screws up the systems, inhibits it.
That's a lot of it. Another thing is learning the nuances of how city government works. Okay. Because my brain is how the Army works. I need a part. I order a new part by VIN. I get it in 4 to 7 days. Okay. Sadly, the Army even has you can order soldiers, people by VIN to do a specific job. Henceforth, when they ask you what's your MOS, your MOS when you first come in is a 14 Tango. 14 Tango 10.
All right, stay right there. I know what an MOS is, but for some people that haven't dealt within the military world,
it's your job. It's your job description.
And it stands for certain.
I don't remember. It's been so long.
I forgot the acronym. Yeah.
You know,
but it is your job.
But you know that, okay, so if I need one that does Patriot missile crew member, the next level up, that's a 14 Tango 20. That's a sergeant. Then you need a staff sergeant. Well, that's a 14 Tango 30. And then if you needed a sergeant first class, you need a platoon sergeant, you need to order a 14 Tango 40. And then if you have special identifiers like I did, this identifiers come out, Zulu or whatever else. But getting to learn the city and how the city works is the most important part.
That makes sense.
Once you've established the trust in the community, everything becomes so much easier. When I first started here, I had some goals, and I thought those goals were going to take me 2.5 or 3 years. And the major agreed with me. It's going to take 2.5 to 3 years to make to acquire our goals, our personal goals for the police department in the city of Mangum. But once the citizens realized they can come and talk to us, our goals were then achieved within about 18 months. And we're like, hey, we need new goals.
Why?
Because
why
was it so much easier? Because when people are willing to help you, people are willing to work with you, and they will open up. So,
that's big.
So
part of those idiosyncrasies is now being smaller town, being more compressed. You're learning, and people are reacting.
Because I promise you,
creating your interesting.
I promise you that in the city of Mangum, if somebody doesn't trust you, they're not going to talk to you.
Yeah.
Just is what it is. So
100 people. So this is this is a little bit different than on the subject we're on. I'm curious what producer Barbie's going to ask here in a minute, but Kobe's asking what's something people misunderstand about police work. You talked about it earlier because it has its extremes from numbness to you wake up in the morning, you're not sure really what's going to happen on that day after day after day after day.
there's
Times
a
5
lot.
police officers.
There's a lot that people often misunderstand. They think
Yeah,
that
I bet.
sometimes they think that if somebody does something, they're going to immediately go to jail. No. Okay. If somebody commits a misdemeanor and it's not in the presence of a police officer, there's only 4 misdemeanors, and I'll cover those here in a minute, that are not done in the presence of a police officer that you can arrest for. Okay, instantly.
Okay.
Okay, so those 4 misdemeanors are domestic abuse, shoplifting, DUI accident, and violation of protective orders.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
if those happen and they're not in my presence, those are still misdemeanors, but I can still arrest for those 4, even though I didn't see it. So
Gotcha.
let's go to another case. Simple assault.
Somebody has a fight with somebody, I
Somebody
assume
has a
is what
fight with
that is.
somebody. Why didn't you arrest them? That was a misdemeanor not committed in my presence, and it was simple assault. It wasn't aggravated assault. It didn't turn into a felony. So they just swung a couple of times at each other. Well, there's a report. The report's done. It's sent off to the district attorney's office, and they decide if they're going to file on it or not. Or even more simple sometimes is we write a citation for it. It's like, okay, y'all were in a fight. Here you go. Here's a ticket for fighting. Show up to court.
And then that action happens. Whatever that is happens.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Yep. And
Interesting.
that's a big misunderstanding. We already talked about you think you can solve the case super fast. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of time. And the hardest thing, especially in our society where we get our instant gratification off of, how many thumbs up did I get? Things like that. The society like that expects an instant gratification or an instant result at everyday work. And that's just not always true. Other things that people think, they think you have quotas. It's illegal in the state of Oklahoma to have a quota.
You're talking about like traffic tickets
Like
and
traffic
things like
tickets
that.
and stuff like that.
We us folks out here, we wonder that periodically. Yeah,
Yes.
I hear that one.
Now,
Good. I'm glad you brought that up.
do we make a lot of contacts with people? Yes. Yes. In the city of Elk City, I can't tell you how many times I found bad situations by stopping someone with illegal window tint. And the illegal window tint gave me the opportunity to speak to the driver, which gave me an opportunity to interview him, which allowed me to find out that he's a felon that's wanted for X, Y, and Z. And those little things open up windows to bigger things. So it just is what it is.
I have a feeling there's a percentage of people that's higher than the average, let's say, that have that I think the number's 32%. And I just saw this on TV the other day, how you guys test the window tint and all that, or I'm sure there's different ways, but I saw this one way and it was measuring the light that goes
It
through
reflects through, yes.
that or reflects through
Mhm.
so you could see somebody. I'm making an uneducated but probably pretty accurate guess that says there's a higher percentage of people that would have whatever that illegal tint on
Correct.
their car than that are felons or not exactly following
Correct.
the law the way they should versus the average other citizen, right?
Correct.
Hey, producer Barbie's giving you a little update here. I guess she just she's been listening for a while, obviously, but Matt is who she's referring to, the youngest son, who's now well, he's just had his first child, so he's married. He's, I don't know, mid-20s or something. He's being relocated to Virginia. That's where my dad was stationed out of, next month to get a higher clearance, and will be criminal investigation. He's following after you there. So
Oh,
I
no,
get
no, no.
that
That's
whole
completely
no, I know
different
it's
world.
different, but it's criminal investigation. I know it's a completely different world, but still expanding upon the criminal.
That's
right.
that's
That's
a
a
big
pretty
step.
cool thing.
That's a
That's a
big
big
step.
deal.
And,
I'm
and
familiar
that
with
is
it.
a big deal. And congratulations to him. And I wish him nothing but the best, because once you're, especially if you're in the world of the government, you
Yes.
go to court for let's say a city infraction, and you go to city court. Yeah, I get it. District court, it's serious. Federal
It is.
court, nobody's playing around in federal court. And so
So I know where it's going with this, but so now he's working within the federal, or will be, he's being trained.
it depends
Something
which,
like that,
it says
where he
for the
goes,
government
where he
division.
goes.
It depends which government division he's working for, so on and so forth.
That's very cool. Congratulations, Matt. Barbie, I assume you're still on. Say hi if you are. Tell him that's awesome. He just had his first child, gave her her second, third grandchild. And so, young guy getting into a really nice lane here, let's call it, right?
Yes.
Congrats, Matt. Good job. Would you read this next one for me out loud for me, please, from Marcus?
Great show. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, no, I did. I cut you off. Go ahead. Say it again, would you?
Great show. Really enjoy this live. And we appreciate all the feedback from everybody. So
this is very encouraging and very exciting. And I'll be honest with you. All this conversations were well over an hour now, by the way. It's gone very
like
quick.
It was 10 minutes.
It has gone extremely quick. It's very comfortable. I really enjoy what
I'm
I'm really
cramp in my quad. Oh, I never bet you
Hey, I
haven't had
saw
one
you-
of those before.
I have had those before. Trust me. Were you at
I
the
meant
gym
live.
this morning? Oh, no, I haven't done that live, but I've got into well, you saw what I did this morning. So I
Yes.
have done other things live.
Yes,
So
absolutely. Absolutely.
I lost it there. Some memories creep into that. So I was concerned about it, but I'm glad I didn't have to wait too long through that. This is a good question from, I think it's John. What lessons from the Army still guide you today? I mean, put the police aside. Just, you've talked a lot about how you manage your life, and I can hear the guidance of your parents and being in South Africa, and that whole, there's a different spiritual thing that weaves itself in there as well. And then you talked a lot about how the Army has developed you as a person, as a leader, but also as character. So answer him for it, would you?
This is one of those subjects that everybody's no. We're going to talk about it, but this is one of those subjects where everybody
no. I'm just saying there's a no. Yeah, absolutely. I said, because I see a couple of questions that are coming up that are going to they blow my mind.
Okay.
Go ahead with this, would you?
So lessons from the Army that still guide me today is being part of the Non-Commissioned Officer Corps. The NCO Corps is the backbone of the Army. It's where they're the ones that make it happen.
Yep.
Let's give examples. World War II. If a German officer was killed, the German soldiers would still fight, but not nearly as efficiently.
Right.
If an American officer gets killed, the non-commissioned officer's not going to skip a beat. In fact, that sergeant first class is in charge of that combat operation. The officer is doing the paperwork, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful manner. They're calling in the 9-line medevacs. They're making sure we get a resupply if we're running low on ammunition, water, or food. if I need artillery, they're making that happen. Okay. Now, NCOs make that happen too. The non-commissioned officers make that happen too. But the NCO Corps is what taught me, it's the creed of non-commissioned officer starts out with no one is more professional than I. I'm a non-commissioned officer, leader of soldiers. As a leader of soldiers, I realized that I'm a member of a time-honored corps, which is known as the backbone of the Army. And then we can go into the rest of it. But once people become supervisors sometimes, or people become leaders, in the non-commissioned officer corps, we try to build leaders. We don't always get leaders. Sometimes we get a supervisor. But if you can instill those values into somebody, integrity, honor, duty, respect, if you can instill those into them, then you know that the next generation is going to be okay, because I'm going to try to teach the guy under me to do my job and the next guy above me job in case something happens to me. So you go down 2 spots. We're going to try to teach him how to do the guy under me and my job, and so on and so forth. So that's those values are what truly, no doubt, drive me today.
I can attest. I mean, I'm just a dude. I'm just a guy. But in backing up, supporting your comments just now, I can attest that. We talked about Matt earlier. I've known Matt basically his whole life. Producer Barbie and I were together since he was 4.
Wow.
And yeah, so and so I've known him his whole life, more or less. And though a different relationship, obviously, step versus I don't know, genetic, however you want to describe. But I've raised him and been part of that journey of his, and I see the world of difference. And that's not taking anything away from his work ethic, who he was, all of him before. But there's some, you talked about maturing, and you talked about these classes and this leadership and this exposure to things that maybe weren't part of his world before, because it was so self-involved, as all kids are. And so widening that out and then channeling that the way, look at the results. I mean, the kids in his early 20s and so that career all of a sudden just goes, holy shit, because that's young and moving in the right direction. And so the Army is and himself, obviously, and his upbringing, his brothers and mom and everything, but he himself and the Army have really done a fantastic job to make a man all that he can be, to steal a quote. Do you guys still say that? Does the Army still say that?
I don't know what they use anymore. I think it's still I think they went back to be all you can be.
Because that thing kicked ass, man. That was awesome. Let's move on here. Sorry. David is talking about how important, and this is one of the ones I was reacting to early, because I know it's got to be critical. In your career, how important is your family support? And you have
family support. Family support is your foundation. It's your rock.
Yeah.
So when I met my wife, she was a student in New Mexico when I was stationed at White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico. And we got married, but she didn't understand why, if my phone rang, I had to leave, or she didn't understand why I did things a certain way. And it's hard to teach that to someone who hasn't ever lived that life. Okay. And they don't understand. Well, the same thing goes with law enforcement. If you get somebody that, a police officer, and they meet somebody and they don't speak cop because they don't know how his mind works because of the 900 significant emotional events that they've gone through in their lifetime. Long story short, though, when my wife, we were in upstate New York at Fort Drum on recruiting duty, and she's like, when I was on recruiting duty, she's like, I don't know how to understand you. So she joined the Army,
Oh, wow. Really?
Yes, as soon as she graduated college, she joined
Wow.
the Army,
Okay.
got the
That's
college loan
cool.
repayment plan, so she got all her student loans paid off,
Good
and
for
then
you.
she
Yeah,
joined.
Matt did that too. Matt did the same thing.
And once she got back from basic training, yeah, I went to her graduation and stuff, and she's like, "I understand now."
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so she stayed in the Army for 7 years. Was
Is
gonna
your
end up
wife from here?
No, my wife's from the Albuquerque, New Mexico area.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, that's an impressive, no wonder. I mean, you're obviously your upbringing attracts, in this case, alike attracts alike, right? That's awesome. And the way you said that is awesome. I
But
don't understand. So
those
what
are
does
her
she do?
words. My family members are so
Wow.
mad at me. They're like, "You're putting your wife in, you're making her go, you're making." I was like, "No, this was not my idea. This was not
Yeah.
my idea." And then once she
That's impressive as
understood
hell.
it, when I had to deploy, she knew why. If she had to deploy,
Yeah.
we got it. We
Yeah.
understand. Uh,
Yeah.
and then we started having children, and she's like, I'm done deploying. So so it was better to
Well,
be a mom.
but the important part was done. Well, the
Yes,
important part being a mom
yes.
is coming,
And
but that's
And
fascinating.
she knows, especially here, even more so is I'm always on call.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
just because an event may arise, hopefully not, but if it arises, I'm, eventually if somebody needs more backup, if we need more people on the street, if we need it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And so we sleep with our phones right there. I was grabbing the phone, we sleep with our phones right there, and just be ready to receive those certain phone calls and be ready to try to do whatever it is that they need. Sometimes it's simple, sometimes it's an easy fix, sometimes it's not. But
Yeah. Yeah. And it pops up like this, especially sometimes you can see things coming like in bigger cities, especially Matt, we talked about Matt. Devin, the next older brother, is a sheriff in San Diego. Certain different circumstances, but I only thought of that because in San Diego over the last couple of years, there's been some stuff that has
it,
erupted, and people are coming in from everywhere.
yeah,
Now got to go.
and I was realizing the question coming up, you know,
Yes.
uh, how does he
It's kind of connected there. Go
how
ahead.
does he balance life with such a demanding job? You
Yes.
have to learn to decompress. You have to.
Yeah.
And what used to help me, because I still lived in Mangum when I was an Elk City police officer, and what helped me was uh, it was a 45-minute drive home. When I was in the Army,
Yes.
I lived in military
Yes.
housing. I was at home in 10 minutes. I never
Yeah.
decompressed. So whatever burdens I had at work, I still had them as soon as I got home. Uh, when I would leave Elk City, you relax, you set the cruise control, put on some music, call somebody that you need to talk to chat, whoever it is that you need to talk to decompress for a little bit. You have to have that trusted person that you can reach out to and speak
Mhm.
to. And
Yeah.
and then when you get home, when the kids are like, "Dad, you're ready. You're ready." So
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing that is a problem. The thing that says that's an issue, I'm not saying that right, but you'll get it. That decompression is huge because of what you said. When you are on military housing, 10 minutes you're back. You never can decompress. I call it compartmentalizing. And we
yes,
talked about
the nothing
mental health
box.
earlier. That exactly. And at some point, and I know a moment in time where that can happen because it did, and producer Barbie was a big part of the recovering out of that. Everything blows, it's just messy boxes all over the place because you when you don't decompress, you're not starting from zero. You're starting from, I don't know, 9, 12, whatever.
Absolutely.
And then building on top of that, and then building on top of that. We talk about people, have 70% of Americans deal with mental health. There's reasons why. Can you read Don's comment here?
Don says, loving this conversation so far. Thank you, Don.
And then go ahead and hit this one. Remember, step into the valley. She asked a question earlier.
Another one. Thank you for honoring your everyday heroes. Thank you.
Isn't that the truth, man? I mean, we don't, and blowing smoke up people's dresses is one thing, but it's nice to talk and chat about this other direction, because it's more human, it's more relatable. All we see now is the news briefs and cuts, depending on what news is wanting to push, which is a political statement and true, but neither directed towards anyone, because they all do it. So, but at the end of the day, this is a human lens on why those decisions, what the history is, and how we can attain, that's not the right word, how we can hope for being, because honestly, what you do and how you approach is one of the most impressive things I've seen, and loving this. How do you prepare officers for real life emergencies? I think we talked about this a little bit earlier on, but can you add any color to Adam Wayne here?
Yes, absolutely. Here's the bottom line. You don't go to an emergency when you're a baby cop. It's what we lovingly call them, baby cops.
Like rookie kind of, yeah, gotcha.
Your rookie police
baby
officers,
cops.
they don't get to go to calls by themselves. They do not get to go to calls by themselves because they don't have the training, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the experience. How do you get that? Okay. I was teaching firearms at the CLEAT Academy, which is the police academy for the state of Oklahoma. I was teaching the March 10th through I got back, through yesterday. And obviously you teach them like they've never touched a gun in their life. So you start from the bottom, square one, and go up. And then, you got to teach them use of force. When can you use force? And there's tons of case law that directs that. There's Supreme Court findings that direct that. And then they need to read it, and they need to know it, so that they know what applies. And then you get scenarios, and they have these simulators, and they're called shoot no shoot simulators. And
actual simulators, like I imagine in video games.
But it's not. It remember Duck Hunt back in the day? You had and you'd shoot. It's basically, I call it grown up Duck Hunt, but you have scenarios, and based off of your decisions, did your scenario go good? Did your scenario go bad? And you can talk. These computers are so cool nowadays that you can talk to it, and it will answer you based off of the questions that you asked or how you talk to it. It might get mad at you. You might be able to talk them out of it. It may be one of those situations where nothing you do is going to be right. And they learn. One-on-one with somebody that you're interacting with in a simulator. Oh, no kidding. Okay, I was picturing something different. They get their time on the simulators, and then there's a lot of we used to do the round table in Elk City, in the city of Elk City, is where we would sit down and do our shift briefings. And the rookies would stay there with the lieutenants and the sergeants would just ask you questions after questions after questions. And it's not, what amendment covers, I get that. But the totality is they would give you a question with a set of facts. What's the answer? You give them an answer. So here's another question, the same question with a set of facts, but there's one thing that changed. Guess what's not the same? The answer is not the same.
The answer, yeah.
The answer is now different. And so once you realize that as a police officer, it's your duty and your responsibility to keep up with all the new laws that the state of Oklahoma puts out every year, to keep up, not just that, but the 10th the 10th Court of Appeals, the 10th Circuit Court. You got to keep up with their rulings. The
Okay,
Supreme Court,
wait. The 10th. Okay, so I know the 9th from California, and because
correct.
you hear it in the news all the time. What is that?
The 10th
Obviously, it's
covers
having to,
Oklahoma falls in the 10th. See,
okay.
the courts of appeal are certain states are those courts, and so Oklahoma falls under the 10th. So
Which is a
yes,
group of states?
which is a group of states, yes.
Okay, gotcha. Go ahead.
And so, what was I trying to say now? You
Oh,
you have to
sorry
know
about
those.
that.
No, you're fine. You have to know those rulings, and you
Yeah.
have to know how it applies. And the reasonable officer standard. People are like, well, hypothetically, he didn't talk to him; he just shot him. Well, reasonable officer standards. What was the totality of the circumstance? Okay. You can't Monday morning quarterback them. Cannot, because they have to make a split second decision right then and there. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. And when it's wrong, actions are taken, they're held accountable. It is what it is. But if it's right, you may not always agree with it, but not everybody gets a chance to sit down and review everything. Well, after the fact, I found out they didn't know right then. That wasn't found out until after the fact. That's why it's called after the fact. So,
you guys deal with that way too often, don't you? As a percentage,
there's a lot.
certainly, at least.
There's a lot of it.
And that goes back to decompressing and all the different aspects of what your job. I mean, we're talking about this as a job right now. It's more than that, but what your job entails, which is always at such a higher level than anyone else, across any spectrum. Can you read Adam's comment here? He was the question you just answered.
He said, "Awesome show. Thank you. We appreciate you."
And then this one as well, please, from Lori.
Appreciate the honesty and depth in this conversation. Thank you, Lori.
You're on a roll here. We don't usually get this many comments. It's interesting. And Tony, would you read that as well?
Great content. Learning a lot here. Thank you.
That's very okay. Now we have a question. I get to read. So Jeffrey asks, how does the community support their local police? And I believe in this case, although it changes, although it's similar, it obviously changes. But let's assume Jeffrey's talking here. How does the local community support you? You talked about being lucky earlier in Mangum, and you were able to get some things done. Expand on that, would you?
There's lots of ways that the community will support their police department. I mean, we do a lot of things. Like when it snowed here this last year, and we got the 8 inches of snow.
Oh my God! Yes.
What did we do? We asked the city manager. We asked Miss Irma to let us close down the intersection between the police department and the fire station, and we had a community snowball fight.
Oh, I did not know. Oh, why didn't I? I got to get more involved. You did?
You got to start following our Facebook page.
I do. As a matter of fact, I was looking at that today. I need to get in. That's one thing I haven't done is Facebook.
So we had a community snowball fight. Once again,
fun.
Organized by Major Olson, and Fire Chief Campbell did that, and of course with the support of Miss Irma, and getting together and just being able to trust. That's a huge thing.
Awesome.
Another thing that people do in this community, when I got back this morning, I saw a check here. There's a check in this. And
hold on. Okay, I see you.
And the lady who we're going to give a shout out to later was like, hey, I've been receiving a lot of calls asking for money to help fund or help support law enforcement agencies in X, Y, and Z place. And she's like, you know something?
Wow.
I told them no, but I would go ahead and cut a check to my local police department. Thank you. Thank you. Because budgets
Wow.
matter, especially in small communities. Budgets matter. And the council members went out big this last meeting and bought us a new vehicle after I spoke to them. They
Yeah.
spent a
Remember that.
lot of money on this new vehicle, and people are like, "Well, that's a lot of money." It is a lot of money, but it's a resource that will be used for this city, hopefully for years to come. But being able to go do training, uh, understanding that, hey, we have to take our guys to school. Okay, once I get a brand new officer, they go through a 4-month field training officer phase, FTO phase, and after those 4 months, if they pass phase 4, then we'll let them be police officers by themselves. However, you still have to be CLEAT certified through the state of Oklahoma, which is 18 weeks of school. So
That's what we were just talking about back, right?
yes,
That's what you were doing earlier
Yes.
this week,
I
plus
was
other
teaching
stuff.
at that academy. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
So either way, you become a police officer and you go to CLEAT first. Now, some agencies will let you, once you go to ADA and you come back, you're ready to go on the street. We do not. You require 4 more months of training, and you have
That's
to
awesome.
pass the training because there's too much at risk here. There's too much at
Yeah.
risk. And you have to look at the totality of the circumstances. Oh, well, no harm, no foul. Yeah, no harm, no foul this time. So why don't, instead of no harm, no foul, why don't we instill a standard that we expect them to abide by, and then teach them and coach them and mentor them? Remember that phrase? I said I would use it a lot. And then that's how you
Yeah.
build the next generation of officers. So
That is beautiful. Oh, wait, I want to go back to this. Read this out loud, please.
amazing video, very insightful. Thank you.
We have one more question, but producer Barbie jumped back on here and she corrected me about Matt's age. He's 22 years old. I thought he was right there. I wasn't that bad.
That's really young to be doing that. Generally, those
that
government
amazing?
agencies, they want you to be at least 24.
Yeah.
So that's really
yeah.
good.
Well, Matt's an impressive dude. Both he and his brother, scholastically wise, I mean, when they were looking at different options and they were being, you know how you get tested to see what your OAS, I said that wrong, but you know what I mean? What you can qualify for. You can't work with missiles. Not everybody can, right?
Correct.
So they put people, they've done very well on him. Matt was brilliant all the way through his career. And that's why I thought, college was a natural for him. He just didn't like it. I don't think he was maturity wise. That edge you talked about, that military gives you. I think that was for 22. I think that changed his world. So let's finish this off with another last question. Unless a couple more come in here. We are an hour and a half, past an hour and a half long here. This has been a blast.
Feels like it's been a couple of minutes.
It does. And what's fascinating to me about it is I talk about all the time. I get this people have commented to me that I'm the luckiest person in the world, which is, debatable in certain areas of my life. But in this one area, I could not disagree or not agree more. And it's that every day of the week, basically 6 days a week, right? Sometimes it's 2 shows in a day. It's been 3. I don't do that anymore. But for you, I get experts to come and chat with me for an hour, in this case, an hour and a half or longer, and along with the other people here. But every single day of the week, finances, AI, 540 conversation. I got to be honest with you, it is a pretty lucky thing to be able to do. And to have this conversation with you is probably at the very top of that, because you don't ever think we don't know. I mean, seriously, we don't think about police. We don't think about protection. It's just a for granted, given for granted, and until it gets political, and then it's judgmental one way or the other. That's about it, right? I mean, that's about it. So what is a typical day like for him, you, Chief, as Chief of Police? What does a typical day look like? And then why don't you roll into something you want to leave with our audience, your fan club of almost 1,000 people here.
Wow.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What do you want to? Absolutely. I mean, absolutely.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
A typical day. Now, the normal police chief has a desk like all of us that they do all their admin stuff from, and then they're just monitoring the big picture. I am a working chief, so not only do we have to take care of the admin stuff, but I also have to work calls. I make traffic stops. We talk to people that are in crisis, things like that. And
Oh yeah.
So my typical day is a little more exciting because when I leave here, my shift's going to start this evening, and I'm going to work an evening shift over the weekend. And what I want to leave with people is they I'd like you all to know that we are like you. Okay, we're not any different than you. We're like you. We may run towards the fire, okay, but we're still like you, and we still want to help, and we still want to be part of your community, and we still like to reach out. But the most important thing is to know that we are here, and if there is anything that they need, to please reach out without hesitation.
That's awesome. Well, thank you very much. What an impressive show. What an impressive way to present what people need to know. Citizens, and this is not just for Mangum. I mean, I like to use the example of Mangum of when people start seeing the rhythm of the show, it's really about rural America. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's really about the middle
Yes, sir.
class of America across the country, big cities, little cities. I think the biggest problem we have in this country right now is that we don't look at ourselves. We should probably start looking at ourselves more like little communities, little neighborhoods, where we have this kind of interaction, and start really looking at the people across the street from you, across the grocery store aisle from you, and not just feeding off the little video clips and social media that we have. Why don't you give everybody a big wave, Chief? And I'll meet you back in, you bet. I'll meet you back in the green room. Let me wrap this up, and I'll see you in a second. Okay.
Sounds great. Thanks.
All right. That was awesome. That was absolutely fantastic. And listening to Chief Taylor over the last, hour and 40 minutes, it reminds you of something, right? We don't say enough anymore. Communities don't stay safe by accident. I was just talking about this. They stay safe because there are people willing, literally to step forward and take responsibility. Men and women who wear the badge, who answer the call, and who leave home not knowing exactly what might face them that day. But they go anyway because the service matters. And in a town like Mangum, that service is definitely more personal. But like I was just telling the chief just now, I hope that you guys watch more than one show in a row, because you start to see not only the ecosystem, but really the rhythm and how we're trying to go. I'll get in a little bit more to that in a minute, but each person protecting the town is protecting their own people. And Mangum is what we're talking about, but look at your town. If it's not Mangum, if it's not in Greer County, if it's somewhere else in the country, look at their neighbors, your neighbors, their friends. It's their community. Why isn't your community your community? That's why we started this series with a protector, because before anything else can happen, before businesses can grow, before schools can improve, before a town can even begin to rebuild. There must be people willing to stand guard. Chief Lance Taylor is one of those people, a soldier who served his country, a police officer who serves his town, a husband, a father, a grandfather, certainly a leader, and now the first voice in a much bigger conversation. 13 people of Mangum who bring their voices at the table. And over the coming weeks, you're going to meet more people, people whose lives, decisions, and actions shape this community in ways you may not always see. Because when you start looking closely at a town, you begin to understand what actually holds it together. And sometimes the story of one small town can remind the entire country what service, responsibility, and community really look like. So here's what I'd like to ask you to do, okay? First, subscribe at our YouTube channel at Rodd Duff 1939. Second, spend some time with us on Substack, insightstraighttalk.substack.com. That's where we go deeper into the conversations. And third, well, before the third, we're talking Mangum here. Get a hold of my paper, weekly column in the Mangum Stars. Electrical, I get it both digital and paper because I'm saving them as special occasions. If this conversation meant something to you, though, share it, especially here in Mangum, because this isn't just a show. This is a conversation about who we are and what we're building together, all of us. This has been Insights and Straight Talk with Rodd Duff and producer Barbie. We'll see you next time. And whoa. Somebody just hold on. I can't end the live stream now. Somebody just gave where am I? Let me get out of here. Hold on. Play outro. No, I do not want to end the stream now. Damn it. Here's my notes. There we go. Okay, we're back. What is somebody saying? Oh, here we go. Chief, your job isn't done yet. Can you read what Kathy said just now as I was trying to close up?
Appreciate your honesty. Appreciate the honesty.
All right.
No problem.
Yeah. All right. One more big wave, sir, and I'll meet you back there in a second.
Y'all take care. Thank you.
You bet. All right. There we go. I didn't want to miss you, Kathy. Barbie, I'm so glad you were here on the show today. And like I like to say, we'll see you next time. I'm Rodd.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. Talk and think about